The Honourable Leader of the New Democratic Party.
Recently, when we and the media have spoken about all the alternate level of care patients living in our hospitals as a result of the lack of new long-term care facilities, the government has responded that not all of those alternate level of care patients are people waiting to be transferred into long-term care. Well, Mr. Speaker, an awful lot of them are. According to documents that we received this week through Freedom of Information, of the 2,009 people discharged from alternate level of care beds last year, 1,246 of them were either transferred to a long-term care facility or they passed away. Will the Premier acknowledge that a clear, preponderant majority of ALC patients last year in Nova Scotia were people who were waiting to be transferred to long-term care?
The Honourable Premier.
Mr. Speaker, I'm not sure the number who are in those particular beds that you're referring to that are looking to be transferred to long-term care beds, but what I can tell the honourable member is those that are, who have been medically positioned that they're going to a long-term care bed are on the long-term care list.
The Honourable Leader of the New Democratic Party.
Mr. Speaker, here is a fact. From 2009 till 2013, the NDP opened 1,000 new nursing home beds and budgeted for an additional 350 beds and 780 replacement places in long-term care. And here is another fact. All of those plans came to one grinding, screeching halt when the Liberals came to power. Will the Premier confirm this third fact, that the total bed capacity of the long-term care sector in Nova Scotia since October 2013 has been increased by exactly zero?
The Honourable Premier.
Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the honourable member for the question. Mr. Speaker, he stood in this House, he's members of his caucus, and continue to fight against the long-term care beds that we wanting to build in Cape Breton. I hope the honourable member would see that as a good sign and stand up and support them.
The Honourable Leader of the New Democratic Party.
Mr. Speaker, the Premier has spoken about the planned nursing home beds in the CBRM, but I'm not speaking about planned beds. I'm not speaking about future beds. I'm not speaking about somewhere on the drawing board beds. I'm talking about beds. Real beds that real people have real pillows on, have covers, sheets, and that somebody is going to sleep in tonight. So I want to ask the Premier, will the Premier confirm that the total actual bed capacity in the long-term care sector in Nova Scotia has not increased 1 inch since he came to power?
The Honourable Premier.
Speaker, where do I begin, Mr. Speaker? Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the honourable member for the question again, Mr. Speaker. He talks about plans, Mr. Speaker. I want to remind the honourable member the beds that he's referring to, that he's patting himself on the back and his party on the back for, Mr. Speaker, were initiated by the Rodney McDonald government, Mr. Speaker. He put the plaque on them, Mr. Speaker. I'll give him that much credit for that, Mr. Speaker. But what I would actually want him to do, the next opportunity he gets to stand in his place, to endorse the redevelopment in Cape Breton that has doubling the long-term care beds in those communities.